Chris Colbert is the kid in school you don't want snapping on you because he's going to embarrass you in front of everybody. He's funny. He's a straight shooter. Most of what he said about Wilder was true. The guy interviewing him on the Fight Hype video, obviously a Wilder fan, he couldn't substantiate anything he said in Wilder's defense with any conviction because Chris was just on it. You could feel the interviewer unraveling when he realized that he wasn't talking to somebody who was willing to bullshit like himself, just unraveled, crumbled. Chris said that Wilder couldn't accept his L, and that's true. He said Wilder talks about all this racism, but then he keeps the white guy who was in charge of making sure that egg weights and horseshoes didn't get in the glove. But it was the black guy who lost his position. And that's all true. And he done it in a very humorous way. Very humorous way. Told Wilder straight that he can't fuck with Fury. That's his opinion. He said that Wilder would probably have a better chance with Joshua. Chris thinks Fury is the best shit out there. But that's yet to be seen. Chris is a straight shooter. And he basically made what the Wilder defenders have been saying sound really ignorant, paranoid, irrational, idiotic. Let's just keep it honest. Because he's buying none of it. And you know what their reply is going to be, that he's a coon. And in the comment section they're saying keep the same energy when you see Wilder. Will they keep the same energy when they see Anthony Joshua though? Look at all the stuff they've said about Joshua and a load of other people. Hopkins, Ward, Bradley. You can say what you want, but no one else can say anything. What is that exactly? Threatening to murder everybody because Wilder lost and mow people down and spray them down because he lost a boxing match. Is he dead? No, he's still alive. What's the matter with you guys, man? What has happened to you? Chris said that Wilder wasn't happy because he's pointed these things out before. He just shot straight and said, look, you lost the fight because Fury's a better fighter. And Wilder wasn't happy. But it seems a bit opportunistic that he's fighting on Saturday and then he's bringing this venom again. Is he trying to bring some attention to his fight? He is a PBC fighter as well, Chris Colbert. So it's going to be interesting to see how the fan base react to that. Not that Chris really businesses, you know what I mean? He seems to be on some... Just don't give a fuck. Fan base is very immature. This is what HBO said about them.
Well, it's tough to know the reasons with Deontay Wilder because he didn't meet with the main media. He did some YouTube interviews with mostly reporters who are sycophants and acolytes and getting it on his terms. He made an opening statement.
Can't verify the strength of his opposition, but I've watched Chris Colbert fight a few times, and he's pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'm not going to second guess Deontay Wilder's confidence at this stage here. But I think, the fact he had to put his bench press online and then warn Tyson Fury that a freight train's coming. I don't know what the science is behind when you're face to face with Fury, you don't say anything. But when Fury's not around and Wilder's on the camera, he's got a lot to say. With Malik and Chris Colbert teeing off on him, Tyson Fury teeing off on him, I'm not going to second guess Wilder's confidence. He may well be extremely confident right now. But he has to deal with his own insecurities after taking a bad loss last year. And then he's got to convince himself that Malik Scott is the right guy for the job. Because a lot of people are knocking Malik. Now, it's up to the camp to stay strong within themselves and not let outsiders infiltrate and make them second guess each other. But Malik is a bit of a mark, isn't he? Is that really instilling Wilder with a whole load of confidence right now? Or are people a little too simplistic in the way they're viewing this boxer-coach relationship between the two? Mark Tibbs, he fought mostly journeyman when he was a pro. Lost a couple. Dave Caldwell, he had a losing record as a pro. He trained Tony Bellew, took him to a world title. Nobody questions them. Jonathan Banks had a so-so career. He took over from Manny Stewart, training Klitschko. Klitschko was getting on. I think Manny Stewart would say, if he is still around, he wouldn't have lost to Fury or AJ. Both of which fights, Jonathan Banks was in the corner. We've got to let Malik get a chance for this fight. We've got to be fair. Let him have this fight here and see how he does. Even if Wilder loses, it depends how he loses. We can't just be flushing it down the toilet until the result of the third fight. That's unfair. Banks, however, was protege of Manny Stewart's, and he was in the camp, the Klitschko camp, for a long time. and you're the in and outs. You could say the same for Malik. He's been there since 2015. There's no reason to doubt that he's not qualified to train Deontay. The proof will be in the pudding when he fights Tyson Fury. If Wilder loses, I can't help but seeing Malik being thrust into the front line and being made a scapegoat of why Deontay lost. How would Malcolm X say it? You've been hoodwinked. You've been had. Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather are telling you that being the best fighter doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the most paid. Leonard Ellerbe has repeated this several times because he's trying to concoct a narrative for Tank Davis, the hype job. Hate to call Tank that. I love Tank as a fighter, but right now he's just a hype job to me. And while it has been true that the best isn't always the most paid, you know, I can go back far into history. I don't even need to. Look at Rigondeaux, Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz made bigger paydays than this guy, but they both ducked him. So it has been true. You don't necessarily have to be the best to be the most paid. Let me just tell you this. If Tank Davis fights Josh Taylor for undisputed at 140, it's a bigger fight than Tank fighting Ryan Garcia. I'm telling you that now. You see, Leonard could do his best P.T. Barnum impersonation, but Tank is not big in the UK. Now, a lot of you who jumped on this PBC brainwash frenzy are saying, well, we don't care about that. It's funny you don't care about it, but Sugar Ray Robinson cared about it, Jack Johnson cared about it, Muhammad Ali cared about it. Leonard Ellerbe is insulting the American boxing fans' intelligence. They don't know who Josh Taylor is. And let's remember, it's the hardcores who tell the casuals that, yo, this is a real fight. If you want to see a good match, this is one to watch, and the casuals will probably follow suit. This is how it works. Around 2002, 2003, I was telling my friend about Manny Pacquiao, and he's not a hardcore boxing fan. And now, it's probably his favorite boxer. Loves Pacquiao. Now, he would have caught on to him eventually, but me, spreading the gospel, caught him onto it sooner. When Ray fought Wilfredo Benitez, now, a lot of hardcore boxing fans will tell you about Benitez and he's legendary, he's iconic. Yes, fair enough. But I'm here to tell you now, he was managed by, my memory's failing me, man, Jim Jacobs, who managed Mike Tyson. Jim Jacobs and Bill Clayton managed him. Benitez was born in the Bronx, lived in Puerto Rico, but the New York fighter, fought in New York. Jacobs and Clayton, they handled a lot of them Puerto Ricans who were based in New York at the time, like Edwin Rosario, Juan Laporte. Benitez had a reputation for being boring. Gifted, youngest world champion ever, two-weight world champion when Ray fought him. But the media would say he was boring. So it was a bit of a battle for them to promote his fights. But don't let people like Leonard Ellerbe or television execs or commentators or pundits fool you when they're telling you, oh, this guy can't sell, so this fight isn't viable. Don't let them fool you, like Bob Marley said. There are enough journalists, real boxing journalists, who know what the right components are that make up a super fight. They know what two opponents will make a super fight. The minute you put Leonard and Benitez in the ring, both unbeaten, there you go. It's instant barbershop banter, instant. Instant talk on the street, instant. And once it gets on the street, the mainstream normally follow. That's how it works. Don't let Leonard Ellerbe fool you with his clown suits and his clown speeches. That's a bona fide super fight. And you also want your fight to appreciate through the years. If Tank knocks out Ryan Garcia in a couple of minutes and Ryan is exposed as a hype job, yeah, you're going to get excited. But that's not going to go to the top of the archives with Benitez and Leonard. It's not. He's a hype job. Who cares? Let's see if he can do that to Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor has the authenticity. He has the 4 belts. He has the backing of a country. In fact, Britain are going to back Josh Taylor. If the restrictions ease up He'll have all types of Brits following him over to America like Ricky Hatton. And who says the fight should be in America anyway? Josh Taylor is the undisputed champion with the better resume. Now the PBC/Tank fans, they're going to do all the damage control to try and tell you that Tank is a better fighter, but he doesn't need to take this fight. So I don't care if the fight happens. I'm just here to tell anyone with any common sense. Anyone telling you that's not the hugest fight out there for Tank is lying. Is lying. Boxing fans who have no common sense, sycophants like the HBO staff we're talking about, are so dumb that they let promoters get away without doing their job, and that's promoting, right? Don't let nobody tell you that you can't sell Terence Crawford, who scores a whole load of knockouts and tries to destroy people in the ring, or Josh Taylor, yeah? If you can't promote them guys, you're a shit promoter. Bob Arum, I've always said, I think Bob's a bit racist, you can't promote Terence and Rigondeaux. We're like, okay. I still don't buy it when he said he couldn't promote Rigondeaux because he was boring. I don't buy that. But you can't say Terence Crawford is boring. You can't say Josh Taylor is boring. It's your job to promote these guys. They are doing what they're supposed to do in the ring, right? They're winning straps. They've both been undisputed. They both have high knockout percentage. They're both very good to watch in the ring. But you can't promote them. Just like you couldn't promote Floyd, who eventually became the richest sportsman of all time. And you said you couldn't promote him because I couldn't understand the hip-hop generation or whatever mumbo jumbo you was talking. So Leonard, all this people don't sell and this and that, that's not our concern. Your job is to promote the fight, the sport, world title fights, the best versus the best. Now you got to make up your minds what it is. Now Leonard is shutting down fights on the basis that their fighters' rivals can't sell. But Floyd is saying, no, we're not going to do cross promotions because we don't want to make other companies great. Which one is it? Which one is it? The 1.6 peak audience on ESPN that averaged 1.3 when Josh Taylor came away with the 4 belts after defeating Ramirez looks comparable with the numbers of the top American fighters I've seen recently. Looks at least comparable or better. So what is it this guy's talking about? You can hide behind sanctioning body, interim and regular belts. You can contrive situations. You can do all of that. And you can be successful at it. But it's way more easier to promote bona fide talent with bona fide accomplishments. It's way more easier. You have to do all the lies. Just like it's easy to repeat the truth than a lie. You have to do no rehearsing for the truth. It basically tells itself. When the American press hear that Scottish people want to fly over there to see the fight, trust me, they're all going to be on deck and there's going to be a lot to say and a lot to talk about. A whole lot to talk about. But if you're determined to tell us that, he can't sell and no one knows him over here, well, that's how it's going to be. If you're determined to do this, it's just like, I don't know, tell me what I'm not understanding. If you're standing up as black men to be counted for justice, there must be a point of commonality with other people around the world with what you're doing. So if you're going to tell lies about certain fighters to build up your fighters, it's no different to when a white cop frames you up, says you did a crime you didn't do, or the media are stereotyping you, lazy, thief, doesn't want to work, don't want to do this. You see, if you're determined to put the word out that Josh Taylor can't sell and it's not a viable fight, then that's how it's going to be. Just like if they're determined to put you in this box as a thief, lazy, etc., it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for a lot of people, a lot of black kids. Now, I'm not saying it's that deep for Josh Taylor. It's not that deep. You know what I mean? Like, he can come back to Britain and develop his fan base in Scotland. But if you're determined to paint the fight as a failure, then it's always going to be a failure. But if you're a good boxing promoter, this fight is easy to sell anywhere in the world. Lou DiBella is older than me, and Lou should know better. I read this video. I didn't watch it. I couldn't bother to watch it, where Lou was saying that Tank Davis is a star. Based on what? His numbers at the gate? Or if he does 300,000 or 400,000 pay-per-views, that makes him a star. Now, I've followed boxing a long time. Sugar Ray Leonard became a star after he beat Benitez, Hearns, and his fights with Duran. That's when he became a star. All these guys that I'm naming who Leonard fought are Hall of Famers. Is Barris a Hall of Famer? Is Pedraza a Hall of Famer? Gamboa? Nobody was saying Leonard is a star because he's earning $10 million to fight Hearns. He was a star because he's fighting Thomas Hearns and this is the fight that people wanted to see. But of course it stands to reason he's going to get paid $10 million. This is the fight that people want to see and it's the best fight out there. I wish I could pose this to Lou DiBella. So when you're saying he's a star, you mean like Sugar Ray Leonard is a star? Well, I tell you what, if we're going to go by these modern day revisionist standards, that means Muhammad Ali is not a boxing star. You can take the $3 million purse he earned against Joe Frazier or the highest purse he earned against the wrestler, which was about 6, 7, or maybe 8. You can take all in purses and adjust the inflation to how much it would be in 2021. All his purses combined, he probably wouldn't get in the top 200 highest paid athletes of all time. If we're going to go by that, well, Floyd's a bigger star than Ali. If this is what we're going to go by. And there's probably a few more boxers who are bigger stars than Ali, if this is the criteria. In fact, Sugar Ray Robinson, Henry Armstrong, Joe Louis, all the old-time greats, let's forget about calling them stars because financially, they can't hang with the likes of a Floyd Mayweather or a Manny Pacquiao, Saul Canelo Alvarez. They can't hang. Now, I don't know what happened with Amir Khan and Joshua and Khan accusing him of laying up with his wife. And I don't want to talk about how he deliberately avoided COLBERT and admitted it because he wanted to make him suffer. Yeah, whatever. Right? Now, I don't know if he's encountering any cash flow problems. He wants that fight now. Well, who's going to put it on? Eddie Hearns already ignored Amir Khan when he tried to get Eddie's attention. Eddie just said, look, the fight's a done deal. He's not interested in COLBERT or Amir Khan now. He's trying to get Conor Benn into a world ranking, into a world title fight. He wants to see if he can rebuild the likes of Josh Kelly, if we're talking about 147. Them guys are old news now. They could try Frank Warren. I think Frank will be saying, well, these two old geezers approaching me about making a fight with them in 2021 for? Would the PBC buy it? I don't know. Maybe someone somewhere will buy it. Who knows? Amir will have to humble himself, though, and lower his expectations of whatever he thinks he's due. I mean, him and Kel. But it's what he said about Joshua. You know, you can't say Joshua is a beast of a world champion and then tell him that he needs to stay away from Tyson Fury at all costs. Now, I understand he was exaggerating and embellishing a little. And if he was to say that all heavyweights should stay away from Tyson Fury, then I could take his point more serious. That's his opinion. But if Joshua should stay away from Tyson Fury, then who should fight him then? Who is more qualified? Who has got the better resume that qualifies them to take on Tyson Fury? You're saying Joshua should stay away from Tyson Fury because he's got no chance. But a lot of people didn't think you had a chance when you were chasing Mayweather and Pacquiao around like a mad person. Or what about when he decided to fight Canelo? Who would you put your money on? I don't care if you're a Joshua hater. Joshua versus Fury or Khan versus Canelo. You see, this is my opinion. The Tyson Fury fans who say Joshua has no chance at all, 0 chance. I can read you like a book. You are the guys who breathed a sigh of relief when the arbitration went in Wilder's favor. Because it's not that you believe Joshua has 0 chance at all. You don't want to see the fight. You don't want to see it. You are more scared for Tyson Fury losing than Tyson Fury himself. Sussed you. Isaac Lowe, Gareth A. Davis, Amir Khan, few YouTube channels who try to pretend that they're neutral. All of you. You don't want to see the fight happen. You don't want to see it. Every time somebody breaks down the fight, suggesting that Joshua has good prospects in the fight, it kills your heart. I've sussed you. I'm not telling anyone what they should think or say, but most people who support Tyson Fury but are not on the sycophant side of things, they would say, yeah, I think Tyson Fury is going to win, but I really want to see the fight though. I think it's going to be one of Tyson's best fights. You don't believe that Joshua is going to be one of Tyson's best fights? You're that insecure that you have to try and reduce Joshua to Pianetta or Christian Hammer so you can sleep at night. Sad. It's pretty sad. Look what he's writing here. He believes the arbitration was a blessing in disguise for Joshua. No, it was a blessing in disguise for you. You can just read through the language and tell where he's going with it. Why are you so scared for Joshua losing this fight? Why? Fury's never killed anyone in the ring or left someone in critical condition, as far as I know. VADA have confirmed receipt of Casimiro's paperwork on Saturday. It arrived 4 days after obtaining everything they needed from Donaire. Representatives involved in the event through the promotion and TV production were all of the understanding that the fight would move forward in present form. Donaire and his team feel otherwise. And let's face it, it's not about the doping protocol now. It looks about the trash talking and misogyny, which, whether you like it or not, this isn't church or Bible class or the philosophy class. This is boxing. Sugar Ray Leonard, he talks of how before their first encounter, Duran, he cursed Ray's mother, his wife, and his children. Ray said, it got to me, he wanted to punish Duran in the ring, and you would have thought, if Donaire wants to represent his wife's honor, well, go and take care of business. Donaire is not the Athletic Commission, yeah? If the State Athletic Commission and the WBC are not requiring Casimero to do more to prove that he's a clean athlete, who is Donaire to tell him what he's got to do? You either fight or you don't fight. Well, he's not fighting now. No disrespect to his wife, Rachel. Why is she getting involved between two grown men and their fight? Why are you letting her interject herself into it? It's you who put her in the firing line. Casimero is some poor kid from the Philippines. When you think he's going to be all airs and graces and aristocratic, him and his people. Yeah, you're going to say that she's his manager. Them man don't take talk from women in that part of the world. They don't take talk. Yeah, it's scumbag behavior. But at the end of the day, you could put that straight by flatlining this dude. But you're opting not to. Casimero has been enrolled in the clean boxing program. He's signed up. Now, maybe he doesn't take stringent testing as serious as Donaire claims he does, but he's doing what he needs to do, and he's ready to fight. Now, I'm not a jump on the bandwagon dude. I've been following the story in bits on Twitter, and all I remember is saying back in the day is that this Donaire is a little high and mighty about himself. I remember him threatening to pull out of the Rigondeaux fight because he didn't believe that Rigo was taking the testing seriously. And he was demanding that Rigo submit specimens, and Hyde said, of course, but Nonito doesn't make the rules. He's a boxer. The Athletic State Commission are not demanding Rigo do all this, or none of the sanctioning bodies. Who the f*** is he? And some of you are hypocrites, yeah? You're bigging up Nonito, and you were slamming Rigondeaux. Oh, he doesn't want to take the fight because he's not doing testing. I remember it. And when Mayweather pulled rank on Pacquiao with Rosada, there was a lot of people who weren't receptive of Floyd doing that, but they were championing Donaire. Now, to a degree, I believe Nonito and his team are using the verbal attacks against his wife as leverage to withdraw from the fight because Casimero is down with Memo Heredia. And we know Memo. He's been associated with how one Manuel Marquez's physique changed almost overnight. He used to train with Pascal, and we know Pascal popped for about 4 different substances, which postponed the Badu Jack fight. And immediately they went to Heredia, who he worked with in the past. And he said, I don't know nothing about it. Don't know anything about it. Maybe it was when Memo said that Casimero is going to have more power for this fight. Donaire got a little frightened. He claims he ain't frightened, but he seems a little scared to me. He looks a little shook. Now Heredia, you know what I mean? Got a shady past. Got caught up in that Balco scandal and was one of the main players, him and Victor Conte, doing a lot of dirty shit. Recently, Memo gave Dan Rafael an ultimatum. Either you prove that he was in Pascal's recent camp, or you're going to end up in court. Defamation. Anyway, the fight's not going to happen. It looks like Bob Arum wants to use the opportunity to make a rematch between Donaire and Inoue. That will probably go back out to China, where it was very successful. And Casimero is going to end up taking on Rigondeaux, who he was supposed to take on before the proposed Donaire fight. Rigondeaux, coincidentally, he's the first boxer Donaire tried to throw shade on when he signed up to Rosada back in 2013, I believe it was. He doesn't seem concerned about CASIMERO and what he's doing. If the State Athletic Commission ain't saying nothing, or the sanctioning body ain't saying nothing, just getting on with it. See, a lot of you are going to say, well, CASIMERO's got memo. And that is fair enough, right? So he's got reason, Donaire, to be a bit cautious of what's going on. But Rigondeaux didn't have no shady coach around him when he was throwing shade at Rigondeaux. Donaire does not have the authority. He's not a state commission, and he's not a sanctioning body. He can't demand that boxers do extra to prove that they're clean to him. Now, if he doesn't want to fight, that's his option not to do so. CASIMERO has been enrolled in the clean boxing program, which is the one requirement demanded from him, and he's been abiding to that. What the WBC don't tell you about the clean boxing program, which they claim is such an initiative that's saving boxing from cheats, is the bare minimum you pay to enroll on the program doesn't really get that much testing done. It really doesn't, right? The more the fighter invests into testing from the clean boxing program, the more him and his opponent will get tested. We're talking about a man who grew up in abject poverty from the Philippines. He ain't earning no massive purses. Any purses he's getting, he's either spending it on himself or his family, or helping out. He doesn't have no excess money to go put in what Anthony Joshua could put into doping protocol for his fight. He's been doing what's required so he can get in the ring. He's never been popped for PEDs before. Rigondeaux, he ain't got no money to waste either. You know what I mean? He ain't doing no extra testing or demanding extra testing from his opponent, which is going to come out of his pocket. He wants to get paid. These are lower weights. Nonito is one of the few who can afford to have what looks like almost 24/7 testing from VADA.